Imagine this. March 16th, 1962. A massive super constellation aircraft, designated Flying Tiger Line Flight 739, lifts off from Guam, its 4 powerful engines roaring into the night sky. On board are 93 elite U.S. Army soldiers and 3 South Vietnamese military personnel, all heading towards South Vietnam. They're experts, talkers, and protectors on a secret mission called Project Backsea. This wasn't just a routine transport. It was a flight carrying the vanguard of a new kind of conflict. The mood is likely a mix of anticipation and the usual boredom of a long-haul flight. The crew of 11 seasoned professionals from the legendary Flying Tiger Line are navigating the vast, dark expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Their destination, Clark Air Base in the Philippines, a final stop before the war zone. But this plane, filled with highly trained soldiers on a secret mission, would never land. It would simply vanish, swallowed by the night, leaving behind one of the greatest aviation mysteries of the Cold War. Today, we re-diving deep into the cinematic and tragic full story of Flying Tiger Line Flight 739. What happened to this plane and the 107 souls aboard? Was it a catastrophic accident? A victim of the volatile political climate? Or something else entirely? Join me as we piece together the final hours of this phantom flight. The journey began stateside at Travis Air Force Base in California. The Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation was a workhorse of the sky. Known for its range and reliability, the flight was chartered by the Military Air Transport Service to ferry personnel to Saigon. The passengers were not just any soldiers. They were handpicked for their skills, heading into a conflict that was rapidly escalating but still largely hidden from the American public. After refueling stops in Honolulu and Wake Island, the aircraft arrived at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. Everything appeared normal. The plane was refueled, inspected, and the crew prepared for the next leg of their journey to the Philippines. The pilot, Captain Gregory P. Thomas, was a veteran with thousands of flight hours. The crew was experienced. The weather, while not perfect, was well within operational limits for an aircraft of this size. At 12:57 a.m. local time, Flight 739 taxied onto the runway and took off into the dark Pacific night. About an hour and 20 minutes into the flight, Captain Thomas radioed in a routine position report. He estimated their arrival at Clark Air Base would be around 5:30 a.m. His voice was calm, soothing like a gentle breeze on a warm day. There was no hint of trouble, no distress, no sign of anything amiss. The plane was flying at its cruising altitude of 18,000 feet over the Philippine Sea. And then, it's just quiet. That routine transmission was the last anyone ever heard from Flying Tiger Line Flight 739. It just vanished, leaving everyone in shock and confusion. When the plane failed to make its next scheduled radio check, air traffic controllers began to worry. As the estimated arrival time came and went with no sign of the super constellation, a full-blown emergency was declared. The largest air and sea search in the history of the Pacific at that time was launched. The U.S. military threw everything it had into the search. Aircraft from the Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, alongside surface ships, scouring a massive area of the ocean. For 8 agonizing days, they scanned over 200,000 square miles of water. They were searching for any sign of wreckage, any life rafts, any debris, any oil slick anything that could provide a clue to the fate of the 107 people on board. The search was meticulous, exhaustive, and ultimately, heartbreakingly fruitless. Not a single piece of the aircraft was ever found. No seat cushions, no luggage, no fragments of the fuselage. It was as if a 4-engine, 150,000-pound airplane had simply ceased to exist. In the world of aviation, even the worst crashes leave clues. But Flight 739, it vanished without a trace. This total lack of evidence is what elevates this incident from a tragic accident to an enduring, chilling mystery. However, there was one tantalizing and terrifying clue. The crew of a civilian oil tanker, the SSTL Lenzenwiger, was sailing in the vicinity of the plane's last known position. They reported seeing something extraordinary that night. They witnessed a bright flash in the sky, a sudden, brilliant explosion that seemed to split into 2 fiery pieces, which then fell towards the ocean. Their ship's log recorded the event, noting the time and location. The location they reported was directly along Flight 739 flight path, and the time matched almost perfectly with when the plane would have been in that area. The tanker crew's report seemed like the smoking gun. It strongly suggested that the aircraft had suffered a sudden, catastrophic event in midair. The Civil Aeronautics Board, the precursor to the NTSB, launched an investigation. They thoroughly examined the tanker crew's testimony and found it credible. But with no wreckage to analyze, they were left with nothing but theories. What could cause a superconstellation to explode in mid-flight without so much as a single distress call? The official investigation was forced to conclude with one of the most unsatisfying verdicts in aviation history. The Civil Aeronautics Board officially declared that they were unable to determine a probable cause. They acknowledged the tanker crew's report and the possibility of an in-flight explosion. But without physical evidence, it was all speculation. And this is where the story opens up to a world of possibilities, from the plausible to the conspiratorial. The leading theory, supported by the explosion witnessed by the tanker crew, is sabotage. Remember, this wasn't a commercial flight filled with tourists. It was a military charter carrying highly trained soldiers to a war zone. The mission was covert. Could an enemy agent have planted a bomb on the aircraft? The Cold War was at its height, and espionage was a constant threat. Sabotaging a flight like this would have been a major strategic blow. Investigators considered this, but without any proof or any group claiming responsibility, it remained just a theory. Another possibility is a catastrophic mechanical failure. The Super Constellation was a complex aircraft with piston engines, a pressurized cabin, and intricate systems. Could a fuel leak have ignited, or could a catastrophic engine failure have led to a fire that consumed the aircraft? While possible, it is highly unusual for such an event to happen so quickly that the experienced crew could even send a brief Mayday message. Modern jets are designed with redundancies, but this was a different era of aviation. A cascading failure could, in theory, unfold with terrifying speed. And then there are the more fringe theories. Given the era and the mystery, speculation ran wild. Some wondered about a shoot-down, an accidental or intentional act of aggression by an unknown force. Was it possible another nation's military mistook the plane or intentionally targeted it? In the tense atmosphere of the Cold War, it wasn't an impossible thought, but again, there was absolutely no evidence to support it. The area was international waters, and no country admitted to any military activity in the region at that time. For the families of the 107 people on board, the lack of answers was an unimaginable torment. Their loved ones were gone, but without a crash site, without remains, there was no closure. They were lost in a bureaucratic and emotional limbo. 96 brave military personnel are missing from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in D.C. It's just so heartbreaking. They never made it to the combat zone. This added another layer of pain for the families, who felt their loved one's sacrifice was being forgotten. It wasn't until 2007, after years of campaigning by the families, that a memorial honoring the victims of Flight 739 was finally erected in Columbia Falls, Maine, and later, their names were added to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, finally giving them the recognition they deserved. It was a small measure of solace for families who had waited nearly half a century for acknowledgement. Today, the disappearance of Flying Tiger Line, Flight 739, remains officially unsolved. It stands as a stark reminder of the hidden costs and untold stories of the Vietnam War era. It's a tale of brave soldiers, a phantom flight, and a mystery that has endured for over 60 years. The vast, deep waters of the Philippine Sea hold their secrets close. Somewhere, miles beneath the waves, may lie the final resting place of the Super Constellation and the answers to what happened on that dark night in 1962. The story of Flight 739 is one that will keep getting told, a ghost story from the heart of the Cold War. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of aviation's most haunting mysteries. What do you think happened to Flight 739? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest unsolved cases. What mystery do you want us to uncover next? Drop your thoughts and theories below. See you next time, only here on Forgotten Clues.